We are playoff racing here at Martinsville. Tonight we decide who goes to the championship finale here next week at Phoenix. Hello, my name is Christian Delgado, the lead producer and commentator here for the SSR Sweet Tea Game Truck Series here at Martinsville Speedway. Once again, a round of 8 playoffs. Trying to see who gets into this championship round next week at Phoenix Raceway over there in Phoenix, Arizona. Currently 9 drivers have taken a lap here at Martinsville, and currently your fastest on track is Brandon Honeycutt, that number 13 Chevy Silverado. Brandon kind of came in hot towards the end of the season here, and is right now currently in contention to get his way into Phoenix. Obviously, one would be really nice for this number 13 machine, but it's still looking pretty well in the points to get in, to lock himself into the championship standings here. Leroy Koblenz making his way back into the SSR Sweet Tea Gang Truck Series. I now sitting P2 in practice, so really good to see Leroy back in here in the Truck Series. You saw him make a couple of cup starts these last couple of weeks as well, so good to see Leroy back on track and here with the Sweet Tea, with the SSR family and everything else like that. Lane Phillips, one of your playoff contenders, championship contenders here, is in P3 with a 19.357 with a quick lap. Dale Slides making his debut in the Sweet Tea Game Truck Series, sitting P4, and that number there's 9 in the sim, but it looks like that 7S machine, that Budweiser machine. Really nice looking truck there. With about 6 minutes left in practice here, let's go ahead and take a look at your points, if we can find them here. So Brandon Sanfilippo leading the points right now. Brandon just coming on, well, was on track for a little bit. Did set a lap, P10 in the practice right now, but you see some blinking from the number 16. Brandon leading your points. Joe Hudson, technically P2 in points, but we'll get into Joe in just a second here. Brandon Honeycutt, as we talked earlier, your P3 in points. Lane Phillips, P4. Sam Kohlhaas, he's right now P5 in practice. We haven't got to talk to him about him a whole lot, but he's also P5 in points. Bryce Dickinson, P6, the number 84 machine. His brother Ty has not set a lap yet, but he is in the session, but he's also 7th in points. And then William McKellar, nowhere to be seen. He hasn't shown up these last couple races. I don't know, hopefully everything's okay with William. Obviously, we still see him racing in the SSR Cup Series. So I guess William just focusing his week on trying to prepare for the Cup Series Championship. Obviously, I think right now McKellar, one of the first drivers out in these Cup Series. We can actually take a look real quick. So McKellar is actually the last guy that is locked in on points there. We're going and we'll be heading to Homestead. We went there last week here in the Sweet Tea Gang Truck Series, but we'll be heading there tomorrow for the second round of 8 in the Slingshot Sim Racing Cup Series. Right now, William currently 16 points ahead of the cut line, right ahead of Zach Lockett. So I guess to fill some time, your cut points. Sean Jensick won at Las Vegas after leaders got together with a couple laps to go. Ended up being able to claim victory at Las Vegas, so he's locked into Phoenix. Greg O'Berry, 28 points above the cut line. Christian Delgado, 17 points above the cut line in that 13th spot. Only 1 point behind that number 13 machine is McKellar, 16 points above the cut line. Zach Lockett, minus 16. Chris DeWald, minus 19. John McNeil, minus 23. And Bryce Dickinson, minus 30. As Russell Martin Jr. removed himself from the playoffs, which bumped Bryce back in. So, Bryce I would say John and Chris. I would say basically everybody underneath that cut line is in must-win situation right now. But obviously, um, Homestead's a very unique track, and you can see, you saw Adam Pettit go out there and win. I think his only non-super speedway race there at Homestead. So it's a very unique track, and definitely anything can happen there. And then obviously Martinsville, that's going to be a chaotic race. We already know it, so. Oh, with about 3 minutes left in practice, we will update you guys on the Joe Hudson situation. So Joe has officially removed himself from the Slingshot Sim Racing League in general, not only the Cup, Xfinity, but also in the truck. Obviously, we saw him P2 in points, but he decided to remove himself from the altercations between him and Brandon Honeycutt last week at Homestead. We did make sure to show that pretty well there last week that Honeycutt was a lap car, was trying to and was racing Hudson very hard as a lapper, and you heard over the radio Joe not very happy with the 13, and unfortunately with that it kind of forced Joe to pit her a little bit earlier than he wanted to, allowed Sam Filippo to get a little bit later, and unfortunately Joe trying to hold off Sam Filippo just drove it in a little bit too hard and unfortunately spun out on his own. I think Joe was not happy with the way that all turned out there. So Joe kind of told the race admins that I'm done. I am done with the league. And he's going to be leaving a couple of weeks early than what we expected to. We expected Joe to be here running for a championship, but obviously, that happens. Some people just tempers get in the way, and they have to remove themselves. You see some love for the Dickinsons in chat right now. I know none of the Dickinsons on track, but we also see some Lane Phillips support there. We see Lane out on track for once again P3 in practice. But with 40 seconds left in practice, it looks like Brandon Honeycutt will be your winner of practice. Will be the fastest of practice here. And we will head into qualifying in just a short minute. Some of these drivers probably trying to do a little bit of a mock quality run, maybe you would like to say. Here's Dale Slides parking that truck. Here comes Leroy on his outside, trying to just get some adjustments made last second, seeing if he can figure something out to maybe get that 42 on the pole here at Martinsville. With that, we will get ready to start your qualifying here at Martinsville. Got to find the first person who's going to be eager to come out here and try to set a lap. Like Sam, first guy on track. The number 28 Sheets machine. See what kind of lap time Sam can run at Martinsville. I'm really trying to hug that apron down there. I know that's a 1966. I know that's currently a pull sitter, but no one else has set a lap yet. We'll see what Sam runs on the second lap time. Coming around turn 4. He'll improve to a 19.4. That's still good enough for that pole. Leroy on his second lap. Leroy with a 9.42. That's good enough for the pole. Brandon Ish on track. Part-time driver here for the Slingshot Sim Racing League, and I think in every series he's a part-time driver. The Brandon Ish running a 19.82. Good enough for fifth. Brandon Honeycutt. I'm trying to get as much speed out of that last corner as he can to start this first lap. Oh, he's going to spin it out here. That's not what he wants to see. Definitely going to park that machine. Start over. Try it again. Here comes the 13 once again. He's going to have to really take advantage. He gets one shot now at this lap. Brandon with a forward 1-2. He's going to knock off Leroy. Just barely, about 3/100ths faster. So Honeycutt, your pole sitter currently. Lane Phillips out on track now. He's going to start his qualifying lap. Lane's going to get loose as well, just like Honeycutt. Luckily, he didn't start his qualifying. That was coming out on the out lap. So he gets another shot without wasting a lap here. Coming out there and for let's see what Lane can do. $19,508. Not the lap he wants, but he's definitely going to try to push it here. $19,406. So that will keep him in fourth, actually. Improved a little bit, but not enough to improve that time. Lane will just continue to run out these laps here. So only 7 drivers electing to put down a lap. Kelsey Smith, Bryce Dickinson, Dale Slides, Ty Dickinson, Brandon Sanfilippo electing not to set a lap time here at Martinsville. Obviously, stuff can tend to be chaotic here in Virginia. So I don't honestly blame them for not wanting to start a lap. They want to start at the back and maybe hopefully avoid the carnage that could potentially ensue in front of them. But as we wait on these drivers to load into those cars here, once again, it will take a little bit. You know, these drivers have a lot of tools in their machines to, what am I trying to say? These drivers have a lot of tools in the sim, whether it's adjusting the brake bias, adjusting the steering ratio, adjusting little minute things to make the car drive as best as they can for this race. So all these drivers trying to figure out what's the best setting for them. You know, with the short track, you can really adjust with the steering ratio, and it really affects the way how much you have to turn the wheel here at Martinsville. But obviously, if you bump down that steering ratio, you can burn up the tires a little bit easier. because you're just not having to turn the car as much, and you just don't feel like you're pushing as hard. Versus if you bump up the steering ratio, you really do have to manhandle the car a lot more into the corners here. But with that said, let's go ahead and get your starting lineup started, presented by High Velocity TV. Brandon Honeycutt, your pole sitter, once again. No surprise here to see the 13 winning up front. And Leroy Koblenz making a surprise up here in the outside your front row here. And welcome to have him. Love to have him back. Sam Kohlhaas in that P3 spot and is basically in a must-win situation here at Martinsville. So great starting spot for him with Lane Phillips in that number 6 on his outside. Barry Stevens in the number 78 in that P5 position. Colin Johnston outside in that P6 spot. Brandon Ish is going to be starting 7th, and Brandon Sanfilippo in that P8 position. Kelsey Smith in the P9 with Bryce Dickinson in P10. And rounding out your field is going to be Dale Slides on that number 7 machine and Ty Dickinson in the 67. Looking at your race weather for tonight's race, 71 degrees, 4-mile-an-hour wind, partly cloudy. For a short track, this is going to be perfect weather. A good and a nice night race here to end the round of 8 here. Excited to see you. 160 laps here at Martinsville. But you're going to see this pace car take a hard right turn off. And Brandon Honeycutt, Leroy Koblenz, Chevy Ford front row will lead us off the green here. We have a little bit of delayed start here. Now you see the lights off the pace truck. Pace truck will head off and take that hard left turn on the pit road here. And now Chevy front row, Chevy Ford front row, Chevy Ford second row. See the Barney with the flag in his hand here, and we're green at Martinsville. Caution out here already on lap 1. Looks like Lane Phillips getting caught up in something here. Take a look and see what happened. P3 wide middle there, that's not going to work. And you see the 78 getting into the back of the 6 machine. Around goes Lane Phillips. Looks like Brandon Ish is going to get in the back of the 6 again and loop him around. And that's just a big checkup right there. You can't really expect Brandon to do much. You see him get shot in the back by the 5 of Kelsey as well. Kensley, my apology, not Kelsey. Kensley. Just a big stack up there. You're going to see the 6 go around one more time there, but park it down there. You see the 19, good job parking it down, letting the 6 get started back up there. But caution here on lap 1. Definitely something we're probably going to see more than once here now. There's just aggressiveness on these restarts. And with all that chaos, you actually see the 5 right there. I believe that is of Smith up here in the P5 spot. Gained a bunch of spots from that wreck up there. Looks like, yeah, he is sitting in that P5 spot. So up 4 spots. Dale Slides in that number 7S machine, also up 4 spots. The 2 of your biggest movies this race. In the 5th and 7th position, so they'll be starting back to back on this restart. So Honeycutt will lead your first laps and will obviously lead us under caution here. Once again, Honeycutt's pretty good on points. He doesn't have to win here, but obviously one would lock him into the playoffs and ensure that he is in. Obviously, we are a week ahead compared to the SSR Cup Series here for the Sweet Tea Game Truck Series. So this is the penultimate race. So whoever wins here will obviously be locked in the Phoenix next week. And Phoenix, obviously, our championship race. And I will close a chapter here for the SSR Sweet Tea Game Truck Series. Not only for the season, but for forever. As we will talk about that next week, as some announcements have been made in the last couple of weeks about the future plans of this league. And what the admins and everything expect of this league post this first season here. With all that said, pace car off once again. Now Chevy front row. Sam Kohlhaas takes out that outside lane. He needs to get caught up a little bit here. Because once again, we're going to be green here once again from Martinsville. A really bad jump for Sam. Leroy Koblenz going to take over that P2 spot early. Salmon in the wall. He shoots for that 28 early. Kind of seeing that 28 getting eaten up by some of these guys who's trying to make up some track position. You see Lane Phillips already trying to make up some spots here. Up to the P6 spot, looking underneath the 7 of the slides. Ooh, some contact. Lane Phillips moves up to the P5 spot. Oh, you see Gensley loose, and it looks like he might take that car down pit road here. No, he's gonna save it, but just got on that apron and lost the truck there, but he gets it back going forward, and no harm, no foul for anybody else. Lane Phillips leading this little pack here. He is already up to the first place spot after kind of gave that Dale button to the 5 machine. And the 5 making a mistake there. Barry Stevens up here in this P3 spot, up 2 spots from where he started. But kind of in no man's land, not really having any pressure from behind. And then Brandon Honeycutt starting to check out here already early here. 11 of 160 complete. Already has a 1.5 lead over Leroy Koblenz. Leroy doing a good job in that P2 spot, keeping that truck clean. Leroy's always been someone who is going to be there in the long run. He's good at saving his equipment, trying to keep that truck clean. But if something happened to Leroy, he's probably going to wreck big. I mean, we saw him back in Las Vegas, unfortunately getting caught up in a wreck in the Cup race, ending his night. But if he can keep that truck clean, I feel like he could be up here competing for a podium potentially. He just needs to keep that truck clean. He's someone who's not really going to push that vehicle early in the stage here, and he'll be there at the end with the better tires, just because of how delicate he is with his cars here. So right now he's about a second and a half, about 1.3 seconds behind your race leader. Here you see that on the ticker right above your screen there. But just kind of rolling around, trying to keep the truck clean, and obviously a long ways to go here still at Martinsville Speedway. Brandon Ish getting underneath Sam Kohlhaas, making his way up into the P8 spot. Looking on the outside of Bryce Dickinson. Not going to make anything work of that. You're going to see all these drivers try to paint this apron here at Martinsville. It's one of those tracks where it's kind of a single group track. Kind of have to be patient. You have to wait sometimes you have to wait on the guy in front of you to make a mistake, to give you a chance and opportunity to pounce and maybe pick up a spot, maybe 2, maybe 3. Obviously with only 12 cars on the track, you're going to see spread out racing and not a lot of people really racing as hard as they probably want to. Barry Stevens under attack by Lane Phillips. Lane Phillips trying to keep the racing clean as he can. Saw him back off. He could have given the bumper to the 78, but you saw him back off just that little tiny bit. Try to be a little bit clean. And we see how close these drivers get to each other here at Martinsville. You see inches away from each other getting into the corners, and it's just about maintaining the gap, maintaining, you know, not getting in the back of the guy in front of you. Obviously, towards the end of the race, you might see some bumpers get put to each other, but you see him making a huge dive on the 78. Should be able to make the pass, and he does. Lane Phillips up into the P3 spot, and now Barry Stevens under attack by Dale Slides. Dale Slides has San Filippo behind him. Your points leader, Filippo, up 2 spots from where he started. And we have to think that Brandon's going to be someone you need to look out for. Obviously, has to drive his way up through the field here, but he's your points leader for a reason. But he's all I wouldn't say he's always been the guy to be a day in and day out, but he is one of the most consistent drivers in the pack here. You see a bumper put to the 78 by the 6 machine of Lane Phillips. That's actually going to lose them both 2 spots. You see Filippo underneath the 78 trying to make a move for the Speed 4 spot. And you know that Lane is not really happy with the situation is. Barry Stevens is not in the playoffs, not even in contention for anything here. Versus Lane, who's I think in the P4 spot in points, trying to keep his way, trying to keep his championship hopes alive. And he's got to be, you know, kind of irritated that, you know, the guy who one of the guys he's trying to race for a championship out here leading this race of Honeycutt already has a 2-second lead over Leroy, and you already see him starting to catch some lap traffic on lap 25. See how the gyro cam here. You already see, I think that's the 5 of Kinsley, already out the front windshield of this number 13 machine. He's starting to reel in some lap traffic here. You see that number 5 machine of Kinsley, but he actually is running a little bit quicker than your race leader. At that lap, he was about a 10th behind, but still running around the same pace as your race leader of Brandon Honeycutt. So I wouldn't say he's in danger of going a lap down anytime soon. Obviously, it's lap 27. There's still a lot of laps to go. And with how equal lap times everything is, I wouldn't worry about it. This is number 5 going a lap down for a good, I would say 10-ish laps at the very earliest. But Kinsley just has to keep that truck clean. And obviously, a worse could have happened. Do you see a little bit of left front damage to that machine? But yeah, Kinsley's still running a little bit quicker than your race leader. Obviously, he's going to have to play a little bit of defense, and it's probably driving a little bit harder than he probably wants to. Compared to Honeycutt, who's actually gapping P2, he's probably just kind of on conservation mode, trying to save his stuff as much as he can. Now, there is a chance that these drivers do not have to pit. They might try to make it all race without having to come down and take tires. If they are good on fuel, you will see drivers try to do that despite a caution coming out. And those 2 cautions at the start of the race definitely did help these drivers save fuel if that was something they needed to do. Leroy, 2/10 quicker than your race leader, a 10th quicker last lap. Leroy trying to slowly pounce and work his way up to this race leader of Honeycutt. Leroy has that gap down to 2 seconds. He was about 3.5. Now he has it down to 2. Closest battle on track is between Bryce Dickinson and Brandon Ish. Brandon, after that getting caught up in a wreck, has not been able to find the speed in this truck that we thought he would. Brandon's been pretty competitive in the Cup Series with his part-time starts there. You know, him with his teammates of Pfluger and some of those guys has found some speed in the Cup Series, but right now at Martinsville has been kind of mired back here in the latter half of this top 10. You see Barry Stevens already back to the P8 spot after kind of getting used up here. That truck, you can see kind of slideways off the corners. Definitely not what he wants to see here. Looks like we are having some frame issues, everybody, and I do apologize for that. That should not be happening. On my end, everything looks clean and green here, unless my monitoring station is dropping frames. So if people in chat could let me know how the stream looks. If we are dropping frames, I do very much apologize, but I see everything clean and green over here on my side. As Ty says, he had to come in. He had some damage. He said the right front was broken from some netcode issues here, and you see Honeycutt bouncing on the number 67 machine. I tried to stay 3 laps down. That number 13 is trying to hunt him down to put him 4 laps down. Now we know Ty's just not going to pull over to the side and let him go. This is exactly what probably Leroy wants to see, is we have a caution. See the 15 of Colin Johnston with a lot of damage. We'll try to take a look and see what happened to him. See Colin just drive it in a little bit too deep into the corner, and he's going to loop it here on the racing line. Really lucky he didn't get caught. Oh man, backed up in front of Leroy. That was close for both those drivers, but got lucky he didn't get hit by any other drivers there. Well, definitely take a look at Leroy to make sure he doesn't have any damage. No damage to that number 42 Sim Motion machine. That's good to see. I knew it was a close call. You're going to see all these drivers come down pit road. So I assume that if fuel is an issue, it won't be now. But I guarantee you you guys are all coming down for some Goodyear tires. I see Brandon with a really poor pit stop right there. You already see Leroy will most likely win this race off pit road. We'll see here. As he does, Leroy is going to win the race off pit road, and that's going to put Honeycutt back to that P2 spot. Brandon Ish, Lane Phillips, Dane Slides, Brandon Sanfilippo, your top 6 out of pit road. That's got to feel good for Leroy. Leroy hasn't had the best luck here, especially in the slingshot sim racing side of things, in the trucks, in the Cup Series. We know Leroy can be competitive, especially if these runs go on towards the latter half of stuff. But unfortunately just has not had the best of breaks here in the slingshot sim racing stuff. So glad to see him up here leading the field here in the truck series. On merit. It's not from strategy. He just had a better pit stop than that number 13 of Honeycutt. So it's cool to see Leroy out here leading the field. Now with 42 complete at Martinsville, we're still at obviously 120-ish laps to go. So everything is still a no-go when it comes to anything that can happen. And you could see someone like a Barry Stevens, like a San Filippo back, still come up here, drive to the field, and be competitive. The lights are off on the pace truck. They take their right, hard left turn. And this time, Leroy lead us to green here. And green flag in the air here. Great jump for the 42. The Ish trying to get in it, trying to pounce on Honeycutt. But Honeycutt trying to get back to Leroy. What Leroy needs to do is not overdrive the center of the corner here. Just keep that car planted at the bottom and kind of force Honeycutt to outdrive you and outbrake you and stuff like that. Keep that truck out in front. Do not make a mistake, Leroy. That's exactly what he needs to do here. Keep that car planted on the bottom. Do not give that inside up. And Phil's back there in that P4 spot. Recovering from that spin pretty good. Alright, now we're going to keep this battle for the lead right here. Leroy Copeland still trying to hold off the 13 of Honeycutt. Doing a pretty decent job. He definitely doesn't keep it to the bottom as well there at 3 and 4, but does a great job in 1 and 2 here, keeping it down here, wrapped around the bottom. I think he's better in 1 and 2, but the thing is Honeycutt's a little bit better in 3 and 4, so this is the dynamic you see here at these tracks. That's a big thing you have to think about too, is that Leroy is not racing for a championship, so Honeycutt has to be patient with Leroy. Brandon Ish is not racing for a championship, so a lot of these guys out here kind of out here trophy hunting, so you can't, I wouldn't want to upset some of these guys that don't have anything to lose here. Don't put the bumper to them. You got to be patient, because they have nothing to lose here. If you put the bumper to them, they could take you out of the race here and potentially ruin your opportunity to race for a championship. So you got to be cordial. Leroy doing a great job keeping this lead though, but looks like he is keeping everybody close together here. I think Honeycutt is trying to be patient with this 42. I think he has a little bit more pace than Leroy. Remember, Leroy is really good on these long runs. Was starting to run down the race leader before that caution came out. Honeycutt doing a really great job being cordial with the 42. Did you see? Oh, 42 didn't get off that corner very well. It's going to allow the 13 to get right back to his back tailgate. Brandon Ish right back there as well. Ready to take advantage of any ensuing battles between the 13 and the 42. You see Lane Phillips back there in that P4 spot. All the top four kind of back to back to back to back here. And you see Dale Slides back there about a second off the pace here. Second behind the cars here. It's still within striking distance if something happens. San Filippo slow, and he's around here. So caution out for the 3rd time here, and we'll take a look and see what happened to Brandon. This number 16 machine. Yeah, once again, looks like he just overdrove the corner. Gone to the side of Bryce, and he's going to loop it around here. Hensley once again around the wreck. Hensley's just been in the chaos this whole race. But we're right on board with the 16. You can just see how much he overdrives this corner here. And it's something that's very easy to do, especially when you're racing side by side with the driver here. Trying to just outbrake them, trying to get the power down a little bit more. You see him, he just completely overshoots the corner. Gets up on the apron, and then around he goes. A lot of damage to that right side door. But not, I don't see like a lot of fender damage. Just that door area has a little bit of a scrapage. But definitely could be worse for your points leader here. Probably going to see him come down pit road. Try to assess the damage. Try to get anything he can fixed. San Filippo, Sam Colas, Ty Dickinson, and Barry Stevens down pit side. Honestly, don't think this is a bad call for some of these drivers. You see also Colin Johnston back there. I mean, you've ran 60 laps on these tires. Granted, probably 40, I would say 15 of those laps have been under caution. But honestly, I think it's a good reset point for some of these drivers back here. Get, you know, what, a good 20 lap fresher tires and see if you can drive your way through the field. We know San Filippo's quick. We know Colin has been quick in his couple of starts, even though he's gotten caught up in some wrecks and, you know, spun out on his own. We know Sam, you know, he came out there and got a P3 last week at Homestead. So we know he's got some speed underneath that truck. The lap 58 complete here at Martinsville. Leroy Koblenz still your leader. This is maybe a career race for Leroy potentially if he can keep this truck up front and not get caught up in any mistakes. Lights are off on the pace truck once again. Leroy elects the inside. Did 19 of ish on the third right there. Gonna try to do the best to get a good jump with Leroy here, coming out of 4. Once again, we're gonna be green here at Martinsville. Another great jump by Leroy. Now Ish is gonna probably try to get to the inside of Honeycutt, going into turn 1 and 2. Honeycutt, a little contact. Honeycutt's gonna clear for that P2 spot, and Ish gonna give the bumper to the 13. I don't think he meant to. Because you saw him back off, give that spot up. And now Lane Phillips trying to look underneath there. You see Bryce Dickinson on the top there trying to make something happen on the outside of Dale Slides. Side by side for that P5 spot. Kensley trying to go to the bottom. I thought Bryce was doing a good job kind of using the top the best he can here, but you're starting to see how dominant this inside line is. The number 5 underneath the 84. You see some damage on the left side door. Maybe got a little bit of help getting up there. You're going to see him slide back to that 7th place spot. See Colin Johnson, your first car lap down, but he's, you know, right there in the back of the pack. There's another caution comes out. He will get that lucky dog as long as he's not involved in there. And Leroy has already pulled out to a 6/10 second lead here. Looks like Honeycutt actually starting to fall back to the clutches of Ish and Phillips and the rest of the pack here. Maybe Honeycutt trying to save some tire a little bit. That's something that he uses as a huge strategy in the Cup Series. He will purposely give up 4, 5, 6 spots in the Cup Series to save those tires in the Cup, in that Cup car. So he'll have the fresher tires later in the run, and he'll try to drive his way to the field. Maybe is this something Honeycutt's trying to bring to the Martinsville Speedway? Going to try to not go up there and try to get the lead immediately. He's going to let Leroy go out there and try to run his race, and then later in the race, if Brandon has anything left in the tank, he'll try to go run down that 42. They were just struggling a lot in 3 and 4, and here comes the 13 on his inside. Leroy gives them the room here, and they're going to be side by side coming out of turn 2. Great launch off the top by Leroy. He's barely clear, but I don't think he's going to take it. Leroy's been struggling in 3 and 4, but is making this outside work remarkably well. So, oh, you see the 19. Drive it in too deep again. Caution's out once again at Martinsville. We saw that one happen live here, but we'll take a look at it one more time. I think you see the 19 get a little antsy, trying to make up some time here, and unfortunately just locks up the rear tires, and gets that back end stepped around. And once you do that, you're kind of along for the ride there. See Lane Phillips doing a good job getting away from that. You see Hensley making some contact with the left front of the 19 and do some damage to that number 19 machine. Leroy finally having to give up that lead after that one mistake in turn 4, and that's all it took for Brandon to take over this race lead. Just one mistake out of Leroy, and he lost the lead. Colin Johnson getting his lap back. Like we said before, all he needed was to keep that truck clean and stay out of harm's way, and he's going to be back on this lead lap, and exactly what happened. So the 19 lock up the rear tires, spin that truck out, and the 15 being able to keep that truck clean through that caution, and see him getting his lap back here with 70 complete. Well, 70 complete here. While we're under caution, we are going to go ahead and let our friends over at Scary Strokes give their words of advice, and we'll be back right after this commercial break.
Welcome to Scary Strokes, where fun meets fright, where every experience transports you to a world of fun. Play 18 holes of blacklight mini-golf in ancient Egypt, a haunted house, and beyond the grave. Step inside our virtual reality arena, where you take control of video games and virtual worlds. Battle robots, shoot zombies, and compete against your friends. Throw your next birthday with our VIP Party Pack. Our party pros are ready to entertain you with a fright fest you'll never forget. Perfect for an action-packed date night full of flirty fun. Our state-of-the-art arcade has the latest games with the coolest prizes. Be sure to feast on some tasty morsels in the Graveyard Grill. So come on, bring your ghoulish gang over to Scary Strokes, where every experience matters.
Back here at Martinsville Speedway, 72 of 160 complete here, and we should be getting the 1 to green for Brandon Honeycutt. Leroy Koblenz in that P2 spot. Lane Phillips, P3. Dale Slides in that P4 spot. Bryce Dickinson rounds out your top 5. Shark's gonna go down pit road once again, and Chevy forward front row, forward lockout in the second row. Getting ready to go into the Geico restart once again, and Honeycutt will lead us back to green. Great jump by the 13. Lane Phillips gonna take advantage of the slow start of the 42. Gonna take that P2 spot, and now Leroy under attack from the 7 and the 84. It's Honeycutt down pit side. Did he jump the start? What happened to this number 13 machine? Lane Phillips will take your lead over. But I'm interested to see what happens to this 13. If he stops in his box, if he has a drive-through. Here's a drive-through. So he comes down, drives through pit road, and out he goes. But Lane Phillips now, with the caution underway, now we're under caution once again. What is going on here? If we can figure out what that caution was for. Go ahead and look at Leroy from this restart here. We're going to speed it up just a little bit for you guys. Oh, we see Bryce Dickinson. Huge wreck here. Coming into turn 1 and 2. Looks like he was trying. It looks like he was trying to give room for Leroy. Leroy just was not going as fast as everybody expected him to. You see him check up. You see Leroy check up for the 7, and then the 84 just does not expect Leroy to check up like that. And unfortunately, him and the 5 get together, and a big contact for both those drivers. Take a look back and look at that one more time. We're right on board with the number 84. And a big hit for both those machines, and all it was, it looked like Leroy did not expect 7 to kind of chop his nose like that going into the entry of 3 and 4, and Leroy tried to back up to give that 7 room, and unfortunately Bryce, trying to not wreck the 42, and unfortunately takes himself out in the manner. See Brandon H down pit road. You'll see a little bit of left front damage to that machine. Probably going to try to get some more of that damage fixed. Obviously, you see the 5 and the 84 trying to come down pit road, trying to get some of that damage fixed. Nowhere to go for that 5 machine. Kinsley just not the... I mean, this is a definition of a Martinsville race. Just sometimes there's nowhere to go. Every situation, you're getting caught up in something out of your doing, and exactly what's happening for that 5 Napa machine. See Bryce right behind, also with a lot of front end damage, trying to get that fixed to the best of their abilities, but definitely meatballs for both those drivers, so they're going to be sitting down there for a little bit of time here. You see Kinsley coming down, trying to get as much fixed as little spurts as he can. Obviously, Martinsville probably one of the worst places to have damage and trying to get it fixed, because, you know, it's a half a mile track. Not a lot of time under pacing to get that damage fixed, so... That all said and done, you can see the pace car make that hard left turn once again. Now forward front row, forward lockout for the front row. You see Lane Phillips and Dale Slides up 9 spots, starting in that P2 spot. Going in the Geico restart zone once again, and Lane will lead us to green. Leroy Dale battle for that P2 spot. As you see the 13 and the 28, that's Sam Kolas battling for that P4 spot. You see, oh, that's going to be tight there. Saw basically the 7, the 42, and the 13 trying to go for the same spot here. See the 13 underneath the 42. I think Leroy will just let him go at the time being. And you see Brandon already all the way up to the P3 spot. We didn't even document. He came down pit road. And so now has by far the freshest tires, and he's already going to start to attack this number 7 machine of Dale Slides. Dale doing his best to hold off this 13 machine. With this battling going on, Lane Phillips starting to put a little bit of a cushion on this lead. With Dale trying to do his best to hold off this 13 machine. It's a caution one more time. Colin Johnson and Kensley Smith once again. Take a look and see what happened. Wow, it looks like Kensley just overdrove the corner, maybe from the damage, maybe not, but just overdrove the corner, got in the back of Ty, and just drove through him. Going in the 1 and 2 here, you see, as soon as he makes contact with the 67, that car just goes out of control. And for Colin Johnson here in the 15, nowhere to go. You see him drift up the track. You'd like to see that number 5 car kind of hold the brakes a little bit, not to involve someone else in there. They see him just kind of let the car do what it wants, and he's going to drift up the track, and nowhere to go for the 15 and Colin Johnson. That'll be, I believe, your 6th caution of the race here at Martinsville. See Lane Phillips down Perry Road. You see Sam Colas down Perry Road as well. Dale Slides. Everybody down Perry Road here. Only people electing to stay out here. Brandon Honeycutt. Leroy Koblenz. Leroy on 47 lap old tires. Brandon Ish stays out here. Lane Phillips wins your race off Perry Road. He's going to start in that P4 spot. Dale running in that P5 spot. He's looked pretty promising throughout the race here. Been I would say a top 5 contender. If you give him the track position, you saw him running in that P2 spot and doing a decent job holding off the 13 machine for a little bit. But I definitely think if you give him the right cards, he can definitely go up there and potentially race for a race win here in his first start in the Sweet Tea Gang Truck Series. Once again, Lane Phillips going to be that first car in those fresh tires, but you do have Brandon Ish on 9 lap fresh tires, Brandon on 11, and then Leroy by far with the oldest tire, 50 laps on those tires. So granted, I would say about 20 of those are under caution. We talked about how with the caution laps and everything else, you can go pretty far on these tires and get away with it. He was definitely taking that to heart. But Leroy needs to have a good jump on the top here. He's had it. I think he's done a good job keeping his track position on the bottom here. But every time he starts on the top, he loses like 3 or 4 spots. And fortunately, that's not something you want to do if you're trying to race for a win here. You have to be aggressive on the top, even though it's not the preferred line. You have to be aggressive here. Chevy forward front row. You see the Toyota crack the top 3 for the first time. Once again, green here. Once again from Martinsville, 91 of 160. They're already falling back now, getting challenged for that P4 spot by Lane Phillips. You see the 7 get around the 42 there pretty easily. You see Lane get around the 42 pretty easily, and you're starting to see that tire wear start to really show its hand. Everybody else has at the very least of, 15 lap pressure tires at the very least. They see people like your race leader, Honeycutt, with almost 40 lap pressure tires. You're going to start to see Leroy start to struggle. The pace is not going to be in the truck that you'd expect out of this 42. It's because the tires aren't as good as anybody in the field here. He has by far the oldest tires. Next person behind with, older tires is Ty Dickinson with 34 laps on his tires, but he's 5 laps down. And looked at by Kenzie, and oh man, caution out one more time. Because once again that 5 getting into the back of the 67. I don't know if we saw something off camera here, but that's the second time we've seen the 5 kind of punt the 67 going into the corner here. And you see the 6-7 head first and in the water barrels, and you see the 5 slide up the track here. And once again, Colin Johnson involved. I believe there was a claim system here in the Sweet Tea Game Truck Series, and I'm not sure if Kensley is claiming these cautions, but I think if that's a second, he should be asked to park it here. Leroy Koblenz finally decided to take that truck down per road. He saw that those tires were not going to hold up for him, so he's going to give up that P5 spot. He's going to move down to P7, but he does have the precious tires right here. Brandon H down pit road as well. So you will see those two with the freshest tires. Obviously not by much. 10 lap fresher tires for most of the field, and then 20 laps for compared to the race leader here of Honeycutt in the 13. Now it's interesting to see that Dale and right here in that second spot. Remember, Lane Phillips, looks like Lane and Dale, based on the track, might be teammates or somewhat affiliated, based on you know, Justin and Susie here in the chat rooting for Dale. So I'm gonna be interested to see if Dale's gonna race Lane pretty hard here, or if he'll just let Lane go. Sam Colas in his P4 spot. Remember, he's basically in a must-win situation. So sitting here in the P4 spot is a really good. He's got a good shot at going out there and taking advantage of maybe a wreck towards the end here, and blocking his way into the championship 4. Yeah, Sam currently in that P5 spot, so even a good points day. Well, actually, Sam, with Joe Hudson not being who was elected to leave the league, I think that will give Sam that P4 spot. So now it's between the two brothers of Bryce and Ty for that for that transfer spot. It's gonna be between Sam, Bryce, and Ty to get themselves into the championship 4. If it is a points race, let's say if Honeycutt comes in here and wins, he's already pretty much locked his way in here. But race car's off. Chevy Ford front row, Chevy Ford second row, and Brandon will take us back to grid once again here. 61 to go here at Martinsville. Saw Lane and Dale with a huge slide. Ooh, you're gonna see them back to back there, really close to each other. You see Sam with a mistake there. He's gonna slide back to the P6 spot. You see Lane's trying to run down your race leader of Honeycutt. It does have about 10 lap faster tires than your race leader. Remember, Joe and Lane Phillips were teammates, so we obviously know Joe left the series because of this 13 machine. Maybe Lane has some animosity to try to get around this 13. You might not see it the cleanest way, just because, you know, hey, you made my friend leave, right? So we'll see what Lane decides to do here. I don't think he's someone who's gonna race dirty. He's one of the more cleaner drivers in the league here. You're going to see him try to run down this 13 and maybe snatch this way a win from Brandon Honeycutt. out for the P3 spot. You see Brandon Ish trying to put some pressure on Dale Slides there for that P3 position. Right now you see Dale having a pretty decent exit there. Tinsley in the wall back there for in P5. And that's a testament to the no give up of that 5 machine. No left front fender on that machine, sitting there in a top 5 position. That car is tore up all the heck from getting caught up in wrecks and being a part of wrecks and everything else. And you still see him end up in the top 5 spot. Leeway taking a look at Sam. Sam's gonna let him have it. Leeway up to the P6 spot. Lane still on the trying to run down this 13 machine is been closer than we've seen before. There's caution out in the track. Looks like Kinsley Smith once again having an issue. Just overshoots the corner. He's going to spin it out there. I don't think makes any contact with anybody else. Cole Johnson once again having to go out of his way to get around this 5 machine. And now catch a break with this 5 car. And that will bring out your 7th caution, I believe. Now you're starting to see the cream of the crop kind of start to come up here towards past the halfway point of this race. And you're starting to see the Lane Phillipses, the Honeycuts, the Ishes, the Koblentzes start to come up here and show why they're up here, and they're always consistently up here. Right now, Honeycutt seems like the guy to beat. Ever since if he gets the lead on these restarts, he has not given it up yet. The only time he's given up that lead is in pit road, and that was to the 42 of Koblenz. Gonna take a big mistake out of the 13, or a huge sin from one of these other drivers to maybe take this lead away from the 13 machine. A little sports update. You see that World Series right now. Yankees leading the Dodgers 5-4. 2 on base, bottom of the 5th. FIU right now beating New Mexico State in the 4th quarter. Sam Houston State beating Louisiana Tech 9-3 in the 3rd quarter. Texas State losing to Louisiana in the 3rd quarter. And the Nets barely winning against those Denver Nuggets in the NBA scene in the 4th period. The Mavericks beating the Timberwolves. Gonna be looks like they might have that game locked up with 28 seconds left. The Kings beating the Utah Jazz. 2nd quarter. 2nd period, my apologies. You see right there, Pelicans play the Golden State Warriors. 9 p.m. Eastern. Maybe 9 p.m. Central. That makes sense since I am a Central boy. You see the pace car take that hard left turn. Let's get on the pit road. Chevy Ford front row. Ford Toyota second row. Ford Chevy third row. 13 versus the 6 on the restart here. You're going to see the 6 try to kind of generate a little tiny run here on the restart. Green once again. Great jump by the 13. You see the 6 get in front of his teammate. See, now we'll see if Lane can run down this 13 machine. He's right at the tailgate before that caution came out, caused by the 5 of Kinsley. That Kinsley is not on the track right now. Either asked to park it or decide on his own to park that machine. Six right on the back bumper of the 13, but the 13 just a little bit better on exit here. Great corner for Lane Phillips there in turn 4. We're going to stay on the back tailgate of the 13 machine. Out of turn 1 and 2. Loses a little bit. It loses about a truck length. You're calling the wall, calling the wall back there. It might have been Sam Colas. You see him a little slow in the background there. Is Lane Phillips putting the heat on the 13 of Brandon Honeycutt? 2 playoff contenders. You know, winning you're in here. Lane, if he can get around this 13, not a lot of laps to go here, especially at a track like Martinsville, half a mile track. No, 19-second lap times. Not a lot of time left to go. You see this top 5 kind of all under a blanket. See Asian at number 19. Behind the 42 of Koblenz. Leroy's going to get spun out by the 19. Caution's going to be waved once more. We caught that one live as well. We'll definitely take a league replay at that, but it just looks like coming out of the corner here. The 19 puts the bumper to the 42, and around goes the 42, unfortunately. See him, he puts the bumper to him. One more time, and around goes the 42 machine. Goodbye, Sam. Goodbye, pulling to kind of stop and let these guys get it sorted out so no more damage to any of those cars. That will be our 8th or 9th caution of the day here at Martinsville. Once again, not surprised to see that. Martinsville, one of the more chaotic tracks on the sim. I don't think I've ever broadcasted or called or even raced in a race. For league-wise, that hasn't been a pretty chaotic here at Martinsville. That's just the tendency of the track and how you have to race it. Brad's getting a lap back here. I'll put him down to 9 laps down. Still see a lot of damage to that 84 machine. But at least he's getting a lap back. So, A for effort for Bryce. Trying to maybe squeak his way into the playoffs here. Still definitely not out of it. Right now sitting right outside the cut line in P5 in points. Only came into the race only 5 points behind Sam. So, but that's the thing though, is with the field dispelled, that means he has to finish 5 spots ahead of Sam. Right now, that's impossible. Sam's sitting in P4. But it will help, like, if he can, if for some odd reason Bryce comes up here, everybody gets wrecked out, and Bryce comes up here and wins. You know, he does get those 5 bonus points for winning the race, but that would take a lot of work from everybody, not just himself, to make that happen with being 9 laps down. The only thing that could really help Bryce is Sam getting wrecked out of the race here. Actually, no, that would not help, because you see Barry Stevens, Brandon Sanfilippo, who got crashed out earlier, decided to park the truck for the week. He's 65 laps down. 66, my apologies. And there's not enough laps for Sam to go 66 laps down if he would get wrecked to the point where he couldn't bring that truck back out. So the least amount he could drop to is maybe to 10th. Kai took currently 32 laps down, but he is out here still trying to get that damage fixed. I'm not sure if he's just sitting and watching now, or if he is gonna try to get that truck back out there. But Bryce would need a lot to happen to get him back in the playoff hunt here. Honeycutt Phillips once again in front. 1-2. Coming out of turn 4, Geico restart zone, and once again 13 will lead you back to green. Good jump by both those drivers this time. You're seeing Dale, his teammate, really giving him room to get in and try to not have to be forced to use that outside. And now you see Phillips all over the back bumper. Getting to see the 13 blinking a little bit. That's not what the 6 wants to see. And you see some drivers with the mentality of, well, if he's going to blink, I'm going to race like he's not there. We also see the mentality of drivers who back off. Because they're, you know, it's a little spooky to see a guy blinking in front of you and everything else. So, looks like the blinking has fixed itself a little bit for the 13. And now Lane can start to get his head back down and try to reel in this 13 machine once again here. 35 laps to go at Martinsville. Only 7 cars on the lead lap here. Colin Johnston, the last of them back there in P7. A good recovery for that 15 machine to get back on the lead lap after. I mean, it feels like he's been caught up in almost every wreck this race. So it's a testament to see the fight in that driver in the 15 machine. Remember, he got a little loose, self-spun, but also just gotten caught up in a lot of stuff out of his doing. Leroy right now in this P6 spot, down 4 spots. So definitely want to see what Leroy can do here towards the end of the race. Third P2, I expected a little bit more speed out of him. Leroy, not the best qualifier, so when I saw him come out here and run P2, I thought maybe he had a great handle for this car. He hasn't gotten caught up in any wrecks, I'll say that. Besides him getting dumped for that last caution. He needs to really this race to go out long. I feel like he's one of the better tire savers in this field, as we've talked about earlier in the race. So he really needs this race to go out and stay green. Honeycutt still continuing to lead the 6. Starting to pull out a little bit of gap here. About half a second to Lane Phillips. Still see him continuing to blink. Dale slides back about a second behind this front pack, and he's starting to get caught slowly by this 19 machine of Brandon Ish. Cam Koolhaas right there, sitting in that P5 spot, sitting pretty right now to make his way into the playoffs. Just needs to make it to the end here, and I think Sam will clinch his way into the championship at Phoenix next week. Sam probably being the best underdog here that's left of the series. Sorry for the little bit of delays on the broadcast. We are losing some connection to the server. Lane Phillips still continuing to try to run down this 613 machine of Lane Phillips. And now this is second closest battle. You see Leroy getting around the 26, the 28 of Koolhaas for this P5 spot. Leroy starting to put the heat on now. 25 to go. He said it's time to go. I gotta start to pick up the pace a little bit. Maybe get around the 28. Now he will try to run down the 19 of Ish. So the closest battle on track right now. 13 trying to run away from the 6. And now he's doing a pretty good job of doing it right now. He was about a 10th quicker that lap. Honeycutt was to Lane Phillips. 19.28 to a 19.94. That time pretty equal. 19.92 to a 19.91. So Lane trying to keep the damage mitigated the best he can here. At the end of the day, 10 laps is not that much comparatively to, you know, a track like Indy or, you know, Pocono or something, where that's a lot of tire wear. 10 laps at Martinsville, nothing. So, going to see, you know, who actually did the better job at saving tires. You still see the 13 on front here. Blaine did a little bit of a better job saving tires. I think he'd still be up there. But still, long race to go. Maybe he is saving a little bit of tire with 20 to go here to make a run. Maybe here with 10 to go. He's still within striking distance. Only about half a second now. 6/10 of a second back. He's still definitely within striking distance here with 20 to go. But this is still your closest battle on track. You see Dale Slides with Brandon Ish back there, about half a second back as well. Leroy 2.5 seconds behind your P4 driver of Ish. Doing a good job keeping that truck clean all race. And Dale really starting to get caught by this 19 machine. Now, how defensive is the 7 going to be when it comes to letting this 19 by? Will he just let him go, or will he try to fight for this? This is the battle for a podium. This is the battle for an interview at the end of the race here. With 16 going to 15 to go here. It's going to be tough to get around. But you still see that 7 is a lot slower than the 19. 19, you're trying to be cordial around getting around him cleanly. But you're definitely going to see a bumper be had here if towards the end of the race. The longer the 7 holds up the 19, that's going to allow Leroy to catch up. I don't know how well Leroy's tires are comparatively, but no, him and Ish have the same tires. Oh, 7 with the huge slide. 19 gets into the back of the 7 now, side by side with that 84. That's a lap car of Bryce Dickinson. It's Dickinson. They're going to overdrive it. There going to be a caution? Is it? Well, caution out with 13 to go. That's a game changer at the end of this race here, especially for someone like Elaine Phillips. Now the question is, do you come down and take tires? It's for Honeycutt. I don't think pit road's open. I don't think pit road was open. Let's go on his nose. You see right there in that 4 shot, those red lights. I don't see them. Actually, that's interesting. I don't see them right here. See? See those red lights right there? They're still on. They're red. They're not green. I'm interested to see if they'll let him pit. He is taking service, but Lane Phillips decides to stay out though. You see Koblitz, you see Kohlhaas, you see Johnston, all coming here with fresh tires. You see Honeycutt. He's going to lead the field. He's going to win the race off pit road. Granted, I'm not sure if he was allowed to do that. We'll see if he gets a penalty or not. Elaine Phillips, Dale, and Brandon Ish deciding to stay out on those older tires with We're going to be going, what, 9 to go here. We'll see if they can hold on here to these spots. It's gonna be tough. There's no doubt in my mind it's gonna be tough for these guys to hold on to these top 3 spots. Brandon Honeycutt, by far probably the guy to beat here. Leroy back there, second car on freshest tires, so he has a chance to go up here and potentially race for a race win if he can make his moves correctly. Maybe even follow Honeycutt through the pack here if they can get around here fast enough, and potentially race for the win. But 10 laps. It's going to be 8 to go when we go green here, I believe, because I'm looking at this pace truck. Lights are still on. The lights just came off on the pace truck, so we will be going green this time. So 9 to go. Lane Pope's going to choose the bottom. Going to give his teammate of Dale the top. Brandon Ish, P3. Honeycutt on those fresh tires, P4. And Leroy Koblenz, the first car on the bottom with fresh tires. It's going to be a dogfight here at the end. Who can hold on to the track position with the old tires? Who can drive through the field with the new tires? Restart zone, and we're going to be green once again here. 8 to go from Martinsville. We already have some issues here. Leroy got really tucked from that, it looks like. And Honeycutt already up to the P2 spot. Can Lane Phillips hold him off to win this race? 7 to go. Does he have enough stuff in the tank? Is he trying to block for this spot? Honeycutt's going to be cordial. As he's going to dump the 6 for the lead. We saw it coming. I think we all saw it coming. You see the 6 trying to be as offensive as he can. Trying to block that number 13 as much as he can. And you saw the 13 back off here. You saw him back off. And you thought, okay, maybe he's going to be cordial. You see the 6 kind of get off the apron here, and you just see the 13 put the bumper to him and say, hey, you're done. You got the older tires, I don't. So I got to race to win. See the 6 go around. I want to go back and take a look at what happened to Leroy here on this restart. Because I thought he was in a really great spot. And oh man, yeah, you see that. Colin Johnson spun the tires. See, really good here. Colin Johnson spun the tires. And that forced Leroy to check up because he didn't want that penalty for passing on the inside. You saw even a little bit of damage to that right side. And unfortunately, that lost him, what? 2-3 spots. Just because of the 19s smoking the tires on the restart. So that's said and done, though. Brandon Honeycutt gets the lead here. And that might be all they call because, I mean, the first guy that are on those freshies now is Sam Kohlhaas. I mean, he is starting at P3. That they'd give Lane Phillips an excuse to come down here and take some fresh good tires. He will have to drop to the field here. I think this will be a natural green-white checkered. I'm not sure though. This might be NASCAR overtime. I'm not sure. Our ticker does not detect that. The only way I could find out is if I do turn on the UI, which we can real quick. No, we are not in NASCAR overtime. This will be a natural green-white checker. Here. Yeah, I'm not sure how I see in the chat with the black flag with the 13 with the pits. I thought, I mean, it clearly on the at least on the track it said that the pit road was closed. So maybe an error in the sim, and they're gonna let Honeycutt get away with it. I'll also have to talk to the race officials post race, and I'll let you guys know next week when we crown a champion at Phoenix. But pace cars off. Honeycutt versus Dale Slides. 3 to go. Now 2 to go at Martinsville. Cole Haas making his way up to the P2 spot. Here comes the run from the 7. Oh, Cole Haas is going to get spun and get turned around here. Caution out one more time. We will be going into NASCAR overtime. And look at that. Lane Phillips already up to the P4 spot from all that. Was that it? Brandon Honeycutt's getting the checkered flag here, so it looks like he will win. I believe we still had one more restart. But the 13 at Honeycutt will win and lock his way into the championship for next week at Phoenix. Yeah, it did not tell us on the UI. You saw that right there that it didn't show NASCAR overtime for us. So you're gonna see this 13 park that thing on the start finish line. You see him burn it down here at Martinsville. See him getting into the trucks. Who are sitting there like they're supposed to for their post-race interview. I'll go through and do your final race results here. Not at Richmond. Brandon Honeycutt's going to win and lock himself into the playoffs. Dale Slides P2 in his debut. What a debut for that number 7 machine. Brandon Ish P3. Colin Johnson P4. Lane Phillips P5. He should be locked into the next week for the championship. Leroy Koblenz P6. Sam Hokoha should be locked in the championship for. We'll finish P7. The Bryce Dickinson, 9 laps down. P8. Kinsley Smith, laps down in P9. And rounding out your top 10 is going to be Ty Dickinson. Barry Stevens in the number 78 out early, along with Brandon Sanfilippo. And they'll be finishing 11th and 12th. Oh, with all that said, we have some post-race interviews we have to get ready for you guys. So we'll go ahead and talk to your P3 finisher of Brandon Ish. Hey, Brandon, it's Christian up here in the HVTV booth. Got a copy? Well, definitely an eventful race for you. I mean, you got caught up in a couple of wrecks. I think everybody did, to be fair, but came out and it did a tire strategy towards the end on that last caution. Came in and took those 4 good fresh Goodyear tires and was able to kind of get your way through the carnage here and come in here in the P3 spot. So just walk me through your race. Walk me through those last couple of restarts for you.
Yeah, I mean, I got lucky. I backed into a podium spot.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's better. I told this to Sam last week. It's sometimes better to be lucky than it is good. But yeah, not running full time here. What's it feel like to come up here and run in for a podium here, especially, I mean, knowing now that these will be our last couple races here in SSR.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, it's good. I've been chasing a podium for the last in all three series in the last probably month and a half. It's always been fourth, fifth, sixth, fourth, fifth, sixth, or I wreck out, one or the other. So come up here and get a podium at a track that I absolutely hate. Makes me feel a little bit better. Kind of sucks the league is dying out, but I mean, I've had a blast racing here the last couple months.
It definitely is a shame, but that's the way things go sometimes. But before we let you go, anybody want to shout out any sponsors, any friends or family watching at home?
Yeah, man. First and foremost, gotta thank God, man, and for allowing me to be here. That's important. I'm also gotta thank TWRS. They keep me straight on the official races and things like that. They got some rippers this week, so I'm kind of thankful there. My brother Outlaw Raps for painting the cars, all of our cars, the entire team at Wayne Goslin Racing, as Mock would call it, Wild Goslin Racing. I got to thank Cullen for sitting there, kind of talking me through some stuff, and just everybody back, back at the shop, man. All the boys back at the shop.
Definitely a great shout outs for you there. But yeah, a great run for you, a great finish. But I'm gonna go ahead and drag you up to celebrate with friends and family, and hopefully we can talk to you back up here next week in Phoenix.
Absolutely appreciate you. Appreciate John on the league as well.
Yep. Thank you for the kind words. But I'll drag you up, and like I said, hopefully you have a great rest of the night.
Yeah, you too.
That was Brandon Ish in that number 19 machine coming home P3 at Martinsville. We're going to go ahead and talk to you P2 finisher and his debut, Dale Slides. Hey, Dale, it's Christian up here in the HVTV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Well, not a bad debut to come out here and kind of run up here in the top three for most of the race here and come home with the P2 finish. So walk me through your race. Walk me through those last couple race starts and what was going through your head.
I have never turned a lap at Martinsville and really not familiar with the trucks. It was just a last second thing and seemed like fun, and everybody let me in, so I was pretty happy with that. And honestly, just learn as I go. to be dead honest with you, every lap was a learning experience.
Yeah, I mean that's something. I mean that's a tough track to come in here and try to learn off right off the bat. You can go to a mile and a half and kind of run in it, run where you are, but learning here at Martinsville, I mean, especially where if you make a mistake, you're either getting spun out or you're getting the bumper put to you. But that's definitely impressive to hear that coming out here fresh. That's and it's also cool to see that you came out here and were competitive as you were. But through those last couple of restarts, I mean, you were up there. You had some of the older tires up there.
Oh my God, I know.
What was going through your head there at on those restarts, thinking what could happen?
Something to the effect of, "Oh dear God, please turn," and it did enough. So, but no, I mean it was fun. I could tell my stuff was way more used up than everybody around me, and that was, nobody's fault but my own. But I kind of survived. I got into it with that one dude right there at the very end. I'm not sure who it was, to be dead honest with you. Tried to stay off of him, and I was hoping he would get it gathered back up. Unfortunately, he didn't. So I hate it, that's how it ended. I would have much rather it been a clean finish, but it was fun, man. I had a really, really good time. That's the funnest race I've ran in a minute.
Well, to be fair, I mean, for every league that I broadcast or even ran in, these Martinsville races, whether it's in the truck or in the Xfinity car or in the Cup Series or wherever we go in the modifieds, it's usually a pretty chaotic and hectic race. So, that's just the nature of this beast here, at least on the sim. So, I don't know. We've definitely seen our fair share of caution finishes. So, but still coming out here with the P2 finish, it's not a bad thing to complain about. But
no, I'm happy for sure. I'm happy. I didn't expect it, so to finish second was pretty cool for sure.
Well, Dale, I'm gonna hand the floor over to you to thank any sponsors, any friends or family that are watching at home. Anybody you want to thank for this P2 finish?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for putting it on. Thank you for hosting it, or broadcasting it. I'm sorry. Thank Bryce for telling me about it and saying, "Hey, come run this thing." And that's really about it. Been a good time. I appreciate it.
Well, we're all definitely appreciative of you coming out here even towards the end of the season, when we definitely are happy to hear that you had a great time. So hopefully you can be back here for next week at Phoenix, but if not,
Oh, I like that track.
yeah, well, definitely if you're coming back to Phoenix, hopefully we can talk to you back here, maybe in Victory Lane or at least your podium spot.
I hope so, man. I appreciate it.
Yep, you have a great rest of the night.
Thank you, buddy.
That was Dale Slides. Once again, his debut here in the SSR Sweet Tea Game Truck Series, coming home with a P2 finish. And as we all know, Brandon Honeycutt, unable to do interviews here for the broadcast and such. So we are going to pull up his little thing right here. But what a great race for Honeycutt. Obviously led 114 of 161 laps. Definitely a dominating finish and a dominating performance for this driver in the number 13, locking himself into the playoffs. Obviously, pretty sure he would have been good on points regardless, but still a great race for Brandon. I was come out here on the latter half and showing that he's going to be continue here at Phoenix for this championship. But besides that, I think it's time for us to wrap things up here in the HVTV booth. Let me give everybody a shout out. So once again, got to thank the sponsors and everybody for everything you do. Sweet Tea Gang, Scary Strokes, anything EC for everything they do for the league, whether it's with the truck series or not. We appreciate everything they do here for the league. But once again, my name is Christian Delgado, your lead producer and commentator. I'm starting to lose my voice, so I'm trying to wrap this up as soon as I can for you guys. But I appreciate everybody for coming out and watching the broadcast. I appreciate all the drivers for coming out and doing their best to put on a good show for you guys. I appreciate John Ross, Ron Lucy, and Russell for letting us come out here and try to put on a good show for you guys. But if you guys would, please hit a like on that on this VOD for the YouTube. I understand we did have some connection issues and some skipping of frames a little bit, but we will be getting that fixed as soon as possible. So if you guys would like the broadcast, share the broadcast with friends and family. Show, hey, look, I was on a broadcast tonight. Just please share the love. We are growing and very small and trying to expand as much as we can here. But besides that, guys, once again, my name is Christian Delgado, and you've been watching a production of the Sweet Tea Game Truck Series over here on High Velocity TV. Hope everybody has a great rest of the night, and we'll see you guys next week for the championship race at Phoenix.